Just pull the rope. Just hold down the red button until it lights up. You'll see the Sennheiser. Hey everybody, welcome to another 1 million cups. Come on, more. There we go. This is a little bit different this week. You notice I'm not Ron. We have out of our 5 organizers, we only have 2 of us here today. But this is an organizer-driven event, and these are volunteers who give their time. So I just want to give a big round of applause for all of them. Ron, who's hopefully watching via live stream. Natalie, I'm hoping they're all watching via live stream and watching me screw up. Shay and Alex, stand up for a second, Alex. And of course, I'm Dave. Before we get started today, we have 2 great presenters, ThisAway and Iron Yard today. I did want to make a couple of announcements. First, Ron had mentioned last week about a community day. I don't know does anybody remember that? And people were all excited because he mentioned that basically service providers could be a part of it. Well, that was incorrect. The community day is for nonprofits, incubators and the like to do their pitches, not for service providers. So apologize, but that's the way that's going to roll out. Just for a show of hands, who's here for the first time today? Welcome. I hope you enjoy it. Our format today is we have each presenter will give 6 minutes, a 6-minute presentation followed by the remainder of the half hour being Q&A, and hopefully it goes well. While they're speaking, please think of questions so we can have a great dialogue. And remember, this is as Ron says, this is a supportive place to be. This is Guppy Tank, not Shark Tank. So let's all try to support our local entrepreneurs as much as possible, okay? And without further ado, we're going to have ThisAway.
That beautiful young lady is my wife. She's the grandmother of...
One last thing. When you raise your hand for questions, please wait for the mic because we're live streaming everything. And without the mic, no one can hear you online.
Okay, that's good because I wanted everybody to know that beautiful young lady there is my wife, and she is the grandmother of our 28 grandchildren. Whoa! So Tim, get up here and throw out some of these candy bars. In fact, because we only got 6 minutes. Well, look, yeah, or just throw them out. Whatever way. We got more than there are people here, so at the end, if you want one or if you want more, if you get more than that, that's fine. I brought them to... So, why the candy bar? Well, it's sweet of you to be here. And thank you. But there's more to it than that. Yes, it's part of the ask. I mean, 100,000 is a funding goal for ThisAway. But more importantly, if you look into what we have, how long would it take you to earn $100,000 as a ThisAway roundabout? Now, we've got that there? Okay. You were emailed a link to ThisAway.org. If you have a smartphone or an iPad or something, I invite you to go to ThisAway.org. We have 2 demo videos. It won't take you long at all to discover that neither is perfect. Far from perfect. But we want to get your reaction. We want to reach deeper than the perfection of our website at the present moment. Is this going to look good to you after 6 minutes? Is it going to look good to you after 30 minutes? More importantly, is it going to look good to you 3 days from now? Will it look like it's $100 worth to you 3 days from now? At its core, well, let's go this way. By the way, ThisAway is one word. It's an example of epenthesis. I think that makes me sound really smart, but when you look at the website, it'll show. ThisAway is Epenthesis is like athlete, but ThisAway is truly a word. Athlete is not. If you live in a zip code, ThisAway is for you. And if you have a small business that's in a zip code, ThisAway is also for you. At its core, ThisAway is a rideshare program, but it has other features that you will often use, even if you never use the rideshare element. So Gail, let's go to the neighborhood share board. Now on your smartphone, it's organized differently and better. We've just had two guys on the team, each come up with kind of their interpretation of it, and we're going to change it as people get on board and say this is the way we got to do it. I'm using this one because there's more text. If you want to study in more detail, you can get it off this one. This is ThisAwayGlobal.com. The one that's simpler and easier to connect with maybe is ThisAway.org. This is the neighborhood share board. See the little zip code up in the upper left-hand corner? You travel anywhere in the world to bring up the neighborhood share board. Everything written on here is going to be posted by people who live in this zip code, in this very local vicinity. You can move your cursor, Gail, if you demonstrate there, over the boxes and captions, post and hitch, and you'll get a little more information. We only got 6 minutes, so we're not going to cover everything. But the post and hitch is essentially a manual rideshare board. Then over on the 5 and dime is like a localized Craigslist. Insider's Insight is useful for outsiders traveling through the area who want to know more about what's going on right now. Places to eat. Does that one pop out? Do we have something like that on there? Okay, we just got it under there. Traffic to avoid. Little things that you won't find anywhere else except from people who have been living here for years. Okay, and all those other little boxes, there's more information on there. Over on the right-hand column in the yellow boxes, we have the free exchange. You can pick up free stuff from your local merchants at the free exchange. If you click on one of those, Gail, each one has, each sponsor does his merchant memo, a brief description of his business. And if you go over to the roundabout square, can you make that one go away? Over at the roundabout square, you can pump gasoline into your tank every week. It's not quite that simple, but we're doing this quickly. So there's a whole lot going on the neighborhood share board. It's about connecting people locally and connecting them with their local small businesses. Now, if we can go over to the merry-go-round. The merry-go-round is about connecting neighborhoods to literally span continents. ThisAwayGlobal.com. The merry-go-round shows you how you can get from point A to point B, whether it be 1 block or 3 continents away, without using your own car. There's always a car on the road, a boat on the water, or a plane in the sky that's going at least partway in the direction of your destination. Link them all together, and you can get from here to there without using your own car. Now, the merry-go-round into its hub is going to connect all the neighborhood share board post and hitches from around the world. It's going to incorporate the sponsors that want to be part of ThisAway. In the commercial carrier business, we will access as much as we can of all the public routes available, so that when you dial into the merry-go-round and say, I'm here, I want to go there, I want to get back to Claerbout, that's where we're from, or Mineola, it will present to you ride options showing how you can get from here to there without using your own car. It's sophisticated hitchhiking. That's the concept. It's not a new concept. I mean, people can, but the technology is new. We couldn't have done this back in the 60s when, I think it was in the 60s when the 100,000 candy bar came out. Best case scenario, ThisAway will be one of the most rewarding affiliations you have, even if it's not the ride sharing that you principally participate in. You can go back to the home page, to the landing page. In the best case scenario, ThisAway sponsorship will be the least expensive, or I like to say one of the least expensive, most effective marketing tools your small business has, at less than the cost of replacing a worn-out front door. And that's what we want to do for you, because small business is the backbone of any economy in any place in the world. There is considerable income potential for the ThisAway roundabout. The roundabout is a person who catches the enthusiasm and the vision of the founding headaways, as we call ourselves, and desires to implement that on the street where he lives. That's it. All the buttons are on thisawayglobal.com or thisaway.org. Unfortunately, I won't say unfortunately. Today, not all of them work. There are 3 ways you can invest $100, but I don't want to talk about that unless you want to talk about that. So, 6 minutes probably up, right?
Yeah, yeah. That was the alarm that you heard.
Okay.
The 6 minutes.
Okay.
Anybody has questions? Please raise your hand, and we'll get to you.
So who is your target rider? Would it be, because like I'm planning a trip to San Francisco in December.
You know, we don't have target riders. We're in the target rider is somebody who wants, it's a lot of different targets. And I know you're not supposed to shoot shotgun like that. But it's, do you know an elderly person that you care for has trouble getting to the doctor? Connect for her. Yes.
Is there a safety component involved? How
Yeah.
do you vet drivers?
Yeah, Gail, you address that. Oh yeah, you got to have this mic here. Yeah.
We're going to have something called ThisAway Friends, and that means that if you connect with any, let's say you have 100 people that you would trust their friends to ride with, because you have to have a trust issue with most people, children, women. So you connect with ThisAway Friends. 100 people have 1,000 people they trust, or 100 people have 100 people they trust to ride with, and you connect with all of those people. So that's about it. Does that make it clear?
Well, that's one way of putting it. Here's another way. At some point, after you join ThisAway for free, we will ask you to voluntarily submit your circle of My ThisAway friends. And those are the people that you would trust as a driver. Now, in the ratings, and you can see that on this version, if you go through a little more slowly, part of the rating is going to be how many times this person has been named to a ThisAway friends circle, which would increase his credibility. He can also put on there, I'm an Uber driver, or I'm a Lyft driver. That's going to up his credibility. We'll also have how many times he was, that person had positive ratings. Any negative ratings, and your membership is suspended until we look into it. So anyone around then can connect circles with circles with circles. And so if you're going to California from here, and you say, I want to go only with ThisAway friends, and I don't want to take taxis, I don't want to see how I could get there with a plane. I don't want to see how I could get there with a little boat. I don't want to see how I get there with a Lamborghini from here to Winter Garden and beyond. I just want to go with ThisAway friends. If the computer can connect circles of circles of circles, you've got a good start there. That's a too long answer for a short question. That's very good.
I have another question about insurance issues. So what would happen if one of your drivers was in an accident? Are you liable? Do they have to have special type of insurance to take?
Can't answer that one real good. When you say my drivers, ThisAway is a community of people wanting this to work. Yeah, there's going to be some oversight and things, but we put a whole lot of responsibility upon ourselves. This is people joining ThisAway to do this. Doesn't mean you can't use Uber, doesn't mean any of those other things. Doesn't mean Uber can't migrate into us. We're all on the rideshare highway. ThisAway is in kind of its own separate lane.
What is your revenue model?
The what?
Revenue model?
The revenue? The revenue comes solely from the sponsors on the free exchange and those who appear on the tickets to ride the merry-go-round. I don't know if that came out on there. We take nothing from any of the transactions, any of the monetary exchange between drivers. We're not involved in that at all. We intend to return up to 70% of the sponsorship revenue back to our members. The largest recipients are going to be the ThisAway roundabouts. Then there's also the weekly gasoline giveaway that's going to occur in every neighborhood around the world every week. So it's pretty exciting when you just can't, boom, this is what it is. It's rideshare. It's a whole lot more. So it's sort of a thoughtful process.
What would motivate a Lyft or an Uber driver? They have a set rate that they're going to get paid when they do a route. With this, it doesn't seem that there would be. So I would try to connect with a ride, and then we would negotiate the price.
That's right, yeah. The merry-go-round is going to show you ride options. It's going to be up to you to pick up the phone or do the emailing and say, hey, it shows that you're going in this direction at this time. Would you be willing to take me, and what would you charge? So that can go all over the board. Yeah.
So in that case, what would protect the passenger from having the driver gouge the price once they're in the car and they get to that spot? Just say like with Uber or a taxi, that's regulated, but I would hate to be in a car in a situation where the...
Yeah, well, he'd no longer be part of ThisAway. I know that. I'd like to say we'll send you the $100 or whatever he gouged you. If that was the worst that happened, that's easy to fix.
Anybody else on this side?
Yes, sir.
This would be an hour discussion if I really took all the rabbit trails I see. I was a hitchhiker in college, and I'd say, oh, there's a concert in Boston. I'd be over in Rochester, New York. And I got there in the same amount of time as somebody driving. So hitchhiking in and of itself can be pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But this is kind of like hitchhiking at the speed of thought, but with organized thought.
Yes, you got a good guy. I have an hour to speak with you, sir.
Well, I see a strategic alliance partner for you that would take care of the legal issues. That's a different conversation. But what I really see, I'm not sure how far you've reverse engineered this out, 10 years, 20 years, what you're seeing there, but I'm seeing all these other offshoots, whether it's ThisAway Senior, ThisAway U, because college is, people are posting boards. I mean, I could sit here and just improv.
Emerald, ThisAway Skyway.
Yeah.
We've got some of those things in mind too. But there's the general idea here will fit a whole lot of people.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll spare you the rest. It'll be a private conversation.
Okay. Good.
Anybody raise your hand with questions, and we'll get to you. Oh, come on. Somebody's got a question here. Well,
Okay.
well, one of the, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No, I mean, right now I've got to get up to where my parents are in Geneva, New York, because they're at a point where they're almost immobile. And they're having some serious issues. We've got to move them out of a house they've been in for 50 years that we helped build, And that's a niche that's so powerful right now, because when they're talking to me on the phone, they're going, we're trying to get somebody from the church to help get dad to the doctor tomorrow and mom to the...
They go right to their neighborhood share board.
Yeah.
And church people are going to say, I'm willing to do. Or they might just say, hey, I'm open from 12 to 3 for somebody who legitimately needs a ride for a purpose like that.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at is all the viral networks. So how do you get a hold of seniors? Forget about AARP, or not. It's a matter of how much you're willing to receive over the next 10 years. When you do your reverse engineering, you draw a picture on a chalkboard and it says, this is what I'm willing to receive in my life by then, and then you list all the nouns, all the verbs, and all the adjectives, and you come up with your budget numbers for how you do it. But I'm not going to get into a lesson on strategic planning. Well, I am seeing that there are viral networks that you can go to the leaders of those viral networks, and it's really quick.
Airpooler.com, couchsurfing.org. There's a whole host of things that can be integrated here. Yes.
One of the great features that Uber or Lyft offer is that the drivers can also rate the passengers, so they know if they want to pick someone up. And is that something that you're going to offer as well? 'Cause
Yes.
you mentioned
the passenger ratings. Gail, can you click over maybe West Oaks Mall? Or just one of, we have the names that, we want it where, there you go. Okay, who is this person? Laura Nine-Ice, 32711. Okay, 6 times she's been named to my ThisAway friend circle. That's pretty strong right there. 4 times she's been given a positive rating as a driver. 3 times she's been given a positive rating as a passenger. You've got a pretty solid person there. The next thing to do now is go to the contact information, give Laura a call. Say, hi, Laura. And there it goes. So it's not, it takes a little bit of aggressiveness. Is there a question there, sir?
How do you plan on competing with the technology that Uber and Lyft have out there in San Francisco?
Well, I don't like to think of competition so much as riding together. Our headway of the merry-go-round, we have confidence in. He has left Disney. He engineered, he oversaw software development teams of up to 35 people. We also have other guys. So I think we've got a really good crew on board, and I think more, after we listen to the Iron Yard, more people might say, hey, I have a contribution to make. How can we get into it? Is that okay? Does that answer? Yeah.
So you had mentioned $100.
Yes.
Have
Thank
you
you.
explained that yet?
Glad. Thank you. If we could find 1,000 people willing to put in $100, we can make it happen. All right? $100. I said that to Gail. She says, Stan, $100. They'll say, here, go, do it. That's less than I've put in a Suburban to fill up. And 1,000 people who think it's worth $100 is greater market validation than all the little surveys, because you can talk to people and, oh, sounds good. You call them next week, who are you? But they put in $100 and they've proven they care. So there's 3 ways you can put $100 into ThisAway. The first way is to become a stowaway 300 plus investor. And that means we were going to give you $300 plus the interest you would have got had you left it in the bank, because we don't suggest you borrow it. Take it from savings, put it in ThisAway, and we'll pay you back $300 as soon as we can. It's our first financial goal. There's a little bit more information on some of that. That's one way. Second way, become a pre-launch sponsor. We have 2 sponsor packages for our small businesses, which we define as 7 zip codes. They'll be placed in 7 zip codes of their choice. $150 a year. A year, not a month, a year. And because they're members, they'll have the ability to come in and change their free gifts and change their merchant memos as they find out what works for them. Now, for $300 a year, and we call this the team package, tickets for everyone aboard the merry-go-round. We go back to the merry-go-round. It doesn't show it on here. It might show it on CAMS on thisway.org. I think you got to go to the bottom of the page. Here we have a ticket, but we're going to, we can do better than that. We'll have it on a backdrop, a ticket backdrop. I mean, that's what's in my head. But anyway, for that $300, you get that exposure on the neighborhood share board, 7 share boards. People are going to be reading your merchant memos because that's how they get their free gas. And you get up to 10,000 spins of the merry-go-round. Because we want to make this an exciting little thing where even kids would just go, watch what this thing does, And you might just say, I really don't want to go there, but look at that. I could rent a Lamborghini to get there. Certainly not this week, but Fred might like that for his birthday. So much can come out of this. And here's another one. Our examples don't work, but you're $200 miles down the interstate after, and you remember you left your iPad, your eyeglasses, something of value at the Cracker Barrel. Hey, there's somebody at the Cracker Barrel or going by the Cracker Barrel who's headed your way. Make the connection. Save the 200 miles back so you get back to your starting point, the time, the gas, and everything else. Man, $50, $40, $10. The guy might say, I'll do it for free, I'm coming anyway. But if you say, I want 50, you say, best deal, too long, okay, next.
Delivery.
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to put UPS, taxi drivers, or Uber out of business. We're going to do something that's really cool for you. Yes.
So
Last question? Yeah, we got time afterwards. We're going to be here afterwards. Go ahead.
You keep saying that people have to pick up the phone and make a call.
Yeah.
Is there, or are you looking to develop something where they can text through the app or
Yes.
see where like a dot where any of these drivers are?
Yes, that's ThisAway Skyway, but Chris has said, Stan, yes, but now we're talking way over $400,000 and all that. But Chris wants us to have native apps. We'll have the what do you call this, responsive, and then we'll have native apps. We want to be really good.
Okay.
Okay, close enough? I mean, yeah, okay.
Actually, I have a question. You were is it merry-go-round or carousel? When you first explained it, it sounded like, maybe this is me misunderstanding. It sounded like he was linking these circles around the country, but then you mentioned something about spins, and so
Okay.
Or did I misunderstand, or
Okay, no, if you.
how do those work together? I guess my question.
Well, again, the merry-go-round is for one-way travel from point A to point B. You input what ways of travel, of traffic, you would consider. And the merry-go-round will configure with the technology the options that are available that fit your windows and your parameters. Now, if you say, I don't care about ThisAway Friends, I trust them, or I might not, whatever, or I only want to take taxis, I just want to get to the airport. Does that answer it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, it's just, you know there's always somebody headed where you're going, and this is connecting them together in a community, in an association, in a private community of ThisAway.
Well, looks like we are out of questions, and we're basically out of time.
Good.
But one final question from, we ask everybody in the spirit of 1 million cups. We always say, what can the 1 million cups community do for you? So what was your ask of the community? What can we do to help you out?
Invest $100, because by doing that, you're telling us you have a valid idea. It's stronger than any marketing we could do with all the Gallup polls and everything else. You say, yeah, I believe it. Here's $100. Now, you'll read in there, we're not going to disperse the $100 until we reach $30,000. It's a couple different numbers are in there. We're going to make sure it isn't just a woo, and then, well, I guess Rollins College was the only people at Million Cups that did this. No, that we're going to mail everybody's checks. We're all going to go back home. We're going to be very quiet and say, okay, what do we do next? Okay.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Let me just get this switched back. And let me go back here. 1 million cups can't be. Where's Twistin here? Can't be put on without the support of all our sponsors. So I wanted to take this time to say thank you to Joycaster. Rudy here donates the joy casting of our 1 million cups presenters every week. He doesn't get paid for it. Rollins ENT provides the space, which is a great space for us. Thank you, Rollins. And of course, Barney's Coffee, who gives us all the delicious coffee every week. It makes our lives a ton easier. So thank you to Barney's for all that you do for us. One other community announcement that I wanted to make for this week is that Downtown Credo and/or Rally Makers. However, I don't know exactly how the affiliation works there, but they are starting basically, I guess, an incubation class. The deadline to submit for this is September 30th, and one of the big differences is they're actually offering money. It's $5,000 to $20,000 if you're accepted into the program. I believe it's all social causes, social entrepreneurship that they're looking for. But they have more information if you're interested in, and it can be idea phase. You don't have to even have to have a product to show. So the deadline's September 30th. You'll have a pitch day on October 15th. If you go to downtowncredo.com/rally, there's more information. You can find out more there. So, yes, so if there's any questions, let me know afterwards. Otherwise, our next presenter is the Iron Yard.
You can jump in whenever.
Make sure you stand upstairs so you can be seen by the camera.
Could you hold 2 more things? I don't know if I can hold any more things. Hey, good morning, 1 Million Cups. My name is Sarah Elbadri, and I'm here to talk about the Iron Yard. Before I begin that, I'd just really like to say it's been really great to be part of the tech and startup community here for 3 years, and to have something like 1 Million Cups has been really fantastic. So thank you to our organizers, Joy Castor for live streaming, and all of you for being here. So thank you. So I am here to talk about the Iron Yard. We are launching our first campus. We're launching our campus here in Orlando. But what the heck is it? We are an intensive coding academy that teaches, mentors, and trains people to be junior developers in 12 weeks. That seems really incredible, but we have done it at 5 other campuses. So we're going to go into a quick story. I unfortunately don't have this really cool mustache to rub before I tell this story. So the Iron Yard.
Growth too.
And before we begin, this is David Rogers, and
Hello.
he is our lead instructor for our front-end course, which is launching in a couple days, September 22nd.
Don't make that any scarier than it has to be.
It's pretty great. So, story time. Greenville, South Carolina, in 2010, the Iron Yard got started as Co-work, which is a co-working space in downtown Greenville. That was a really great success that grew into an accelerator, a startup accelerator similar to Startup Studio that also took equity in companies and grew really successful and actually moved to Spartanburg. So co-work and the accelerator, which was called The Next Big Thing, came together and became the Iron Yard, which is what we are now. So at that time, it's a co-working space, a business accelerator, and then, has anybody heard of Grok? This is a good.
No.
Okay, well, that means there's not that many developers in here, which is great.
But the problem that the folks at the Next Big Thing discovered, as we discovered with Starter Studio and a lot of the startup weekend events that Sarah and Orette have put on over the last couple of years, is that startups need talent, right? They need developers, they need designers, they need people who are passionate and willing to get their hands dirty and get stuff done. And in order to fill the gap that they found in Greenville, South Carolina, my home state, they started an academy to start pumping out these very talented developers and designers, front-end engineers, back-end engineers, so on and so forth. And that's where the Grok conference started by Mason and
A couple other partners at the Iron Yard. So all of this swirled into this one big melting pot that was, hey, how do we fill this void of talent that these companies need and requires all these companies who are in Greenville right now to stay here, as well as the startup companies that are going through the accelerator. How do we make them more successful? So all this swirled together, the Iron Yard became a co-working space, a business accelerator, and a code academy. So that's where we are now. It's kind of hard to see that just because of how bright this room is, but all those little green dots are where we are around the country in terms of our business accelerator and our code academy. The co-working space has spun out, but is still very successful as well. So from Greenville, South Carolina, which is our flagship academy, we've grown to Charleston, Raleigh-Durham, Atlanta, Houston, and we're opening Orlando and Tampa this September.
And soon to come Austin and Columbia, South Carolina.
And some more green dots out here out west.
More green, obviously, if you can count, then you've been paying attention. You know that there are a couple more green dots than we've listed. But
cool. So what do we teach? So these are our two partners at the Iron Yard, but one thing that makes the Iron Yard special is that everyone that started the Iron Yard is a professional coder and developer. But Dave can talk a little bit more about what we teach specifically here at this Orlando Academy.
So we're starting off with one course that I'll be teaching starting in September 22nd. That's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But really, it's more like HTML and CSS and JavaScript because JavaScript is the king, right? Everything about JavaScript. We'll start with a little bit of Node and back end. We get into Grunt and Gulp. Very practical, tool-oriented, results-oriented education. with a capstone project, probably in Angular JS, with the goal of placing these students, somewhere between 10 and 15 students for each cohort, in a front-end engineering position at entry level. In January, we'll be starting our Ruby on Rails coursework, which follows a similar path. We start talking about Ruby. We go on to test-driven development. We introduce HTML and CSS. Then we get into things like Sinatra and Grape and Rack and Rails, eventually getting into Rails, doing capstone projects in Rails.
So for people who don't code, that sounds really scary.
Yeah, for all of you who are just like, what? What?
But I would say about 90% of our students who come through the course have not written a single line of code before they do this 12-week program. Coming out of the program, they're completely literate and totally understand everything that just came out of Dave's mouth and can do those things well. So what makes the Iron Yard different is that we emphasize a lot of things that other code schools or boot camps don't really put into practice. So we emphasize like thinking over syntax. Yeah, you can string some lines of code together, but what does that really mean? And as you grow and as a professional developer, can you become better? Do you understand the theory behind what you're creating? Quality over quantity, we cap our classes at 15. There is one instructor and one TA for each class, and we want to make sure that every single student gets the most out of this 12-week program. Real projects over scripted assignments. There are other ways to learn how to code, but a lot of those ways are do this project, go through this exercise, take this quiz. Yeah, you can regurgitate all that information, but what does it really mean? So we want our students to work on real world projects. Instructors as practitioners, oops. As you've seen, David's a G and knows his stuff. And then, yeah, so I don't want to go too much over our time, but we're coming into, can I get to the ask?
Go ahead.
All right, so, sorry, 6 minutes flies by, man. So here's the ask for the Iron Yard here as we come to Orlando. The first ask is apply. Is anyone interested in becoming a developer? If you are and are in this room, please apply. We are providing a 1 Million Cups scholarship to the Iron Yard, and that is $500 off the cost of tuition. We didn't get to talk about that, and
But that's okay.
we'd love for someone to ask that question in the next 20 minutes.
There are plants in the room.
Yes, thank you. Refer a friend. That's also a possibility, and we'll get you a $150 check cut if whoever you refer is a good candidate and enrolls in the program. That's $150. Like David said, we have a Rails class coming up, and we're also thinking about what our third class could be, Android, iOS, or whatever. But if you know anybody that's a good teacher and is also very technical, please refer them to us. And we have a newsletter on our website, theironyard.com/Orlando.
And can you refer yourself, get the $150 off?
You would want to take the $500 scholarship.
I think you
yeah.
call your wife and then you say, hey.
There you go.
I have a question. Do you have any kind of scholarships maybe for 1 Million Cups members? There's your prompt that you requested.
I think I paid off the wrong guy.
So we do, yeah. So on our website is the application. At the bottom it says, how did you hear about us? Please write 1 Million Cups. If you are interested in applying, that is $500 off the cost of tuition. Tuition, anybody want to ask that question?
Yeah. Oh no, there's like 3 people.
How much is tuition?
Boom. All right. So the Iron Yard is an investment in your career as a professional developer. These are for people who might not have had a break into this industry. So the cost of tuition is $10,000. This is a 12-week program, Monday through Friday. You have one-on-one mentorship and instruction from a G, right? So yes, basically. And so this is a really great investment in a career that's going to launch you into something that obviously we know how much developers make, or if you've built a website with a developer, you know how much that costs. So this is a really great career and a really good investment in your future. So,
first, what does G mean?
oh, here I think David can talk about what his career has looked like.
So I believe Sarah is referring to OG as in original gangsta.
Oh, is that the hat that brings the OG?
Yeah, man.
Or?
No,
Okay.
this is. I am far too suburban for that to apply. I've been in the industry for 15 years, since the late 90s. I've been freelancing for the last 10 years with a couple occasional flirtations with permanent full-time opportunities. I've been all over the stack, full stack. I admin servers and build architectures for people all the way up to write the codes, you know. So Sarah's trying to give me mad props for being down in the trenches for so long, I think.
Awesome. Well, looking down market, do you guys have any plans to scale into any programs for children at all?
That's a great question. In fact, I'll let Sarah answer that.
Awesome. Yeah, so we have kids classes as part of the Iron Yard. Those are free classes that are offered. So as we launch our first campus, we're going to be figuring out what we want to teach and what specific age group. So if you have any recommendations of 9-year-olds. Okay, well, that's actually what we've been thinking about. So I think 9 to 13 is a really good fit to teach this kind of stuff, and we're just trying to figure out what we specifically want to teach. So that will be rolling out later this year, and I'm sure I'll ask Ron to put us on a listserv somewhere.
What kind of prerequisites would you recommend someone that's looking to go into the academy knows and researches in advance?
So, like Sarah said, we don't really expect anyone who's applying to the academy to have prior experience as a developer. It's very useful for them to have some context about what is HTML, what is CSS, what is JavaScript, at least kind of a global knowledge of what that is. And any applicants that we receive, that we interview, what we're looking for primarily is the drive to actually buckle down for 12 weeks with us. Say, I'm going to disappear for 3 months, and when I come out of this thing, when I come out of boot camp, I'm going to be a developer. That's the real prerequisite for us, is that you have the passion and the desire and the inclination to be a programmer, so much so that you're willing to plunk down a big check and commit to 12 weeks worth of me kicking your ass. It's gonna be real.
So I'm curious from the business standpoint, what criteria are you using to select locations where you're putting in schools?
So that's a very complicated question. Mostly where the founders have been looking to start schools are what are being called the sprawling cities. Cities that have a large suburban population but not a strong urban center. So we wouldn't be going to New York. First of all, there's a lot of competition in New York to begin with. It's very expensive, but it's a strong urban center. We probably wouldn't be going to Chicago. We probably won't be going out west to California. The cities that we've targeted are mostly suburban, distributed, and are emerging tech centers. So Raleigh-Durham makes sense. Atlanta's kind of we could actually have a couple different campuses in Atlanta, and they're experimenting with that a little bit. Places like Charleston, or Orlando, Tampa, Jacksonville, maybe one day, but it's a very strong urban center. I don't know. We're definitely targeting the up-and-coming cities, the ones that aren't established already, and the ones that have the most demand, the most potential for small business development.
So I have a question about.
I got it.
Fight.
I don't know if you answered this question already, but what are the requirements for the people that teach within the Iron Yard?
So that's great, another great question. Most of the teachers that we've selected for our campuses are people that have had significant experience in the industry already. We already know the ropes. We know how critical it is to keep learning. So those are people that have 5 to 10 years of experience or more. But what's really important is people who are engaged and active in the community, people who already know what it's like to reach out other developers, other up-and-comers, people who have a gift for teaching. Despite the fact that I've been doing this for 15 years, there have been people that have been doing this for 20, 25, and are way smarter than me and know a whole lot more and can do crazy voodoo magic with the internets, well beyond what I could imagine. I just happen to be good at speaking and teaching and mentoring others. Those are the 3 primary things that we're looking for as instructors. You got the skills, but you can also impart the skills, and you're willing to invest in people. You want to invest in people. All right.
So I have a question about the actual format. I mean, I suppose it's a commuter school, the idea you're driving into school every day, and then
are there from, 8 in the morning to 5 in the evening, or how do you work that? You don't have dormitories or anything like that, or?
Sure. So logistically, yes, it is a on-site. It's kind of like boot camp, except that I don't like tuck you in at night by yelling at you. For those of you who've been through basic, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or 9 to 6-ish, right? Monday through Friday, for 12 weeks straight. I come in at 9. I leave at 6. I give an assignment about 1 o'clock or just after lunch that's probably going to take you about 8 hours as a student. So, mathematically, that's a little later than 6, right? The facility is open to you, and the assignment is due 8 o'clock the next morning. Sometimes they're individual assignments. Sometimes they'll be pairing assignments where I've paired you up or you're expected to pair up with somebody else. Sometimes there'll be group assignments where 3 or more people are completing the same assignment. Thursday afternoon, 1 o'clock, I drop an assignment on you that's got to be at least 20 hours worth of work. It's ridiculous, right? This should be your weekend. Not every assignment will eat your weekend, but it's going to be a big boy. And they're all open-ended assignments, so this is something that you could put as much polish on as you want. It's not something that's you must complete these steps and now you are done. That assignment is due on Monday morning, and that goes for 9 weeks. We just keep pouring information into people's heads and then reinforcing it with real-world projects for 9 weeks. At the end of 9 weeks, we have a 3-week capstone project that the students work on. Split into groups. You figure out what your project is going to be as a group, kind of like a startup weekend type thing. Well, I think I would like to build an app. Okay, well, what does your app do? And the next 3 weeks, I'm mentoring those 2-3 teams, however many, and lecturing only what they need to hear in order to continue to build their apps. At the end, we do a demo day, just like Starter Studio did. The students show off the thing that they have built. And that might be an app in the App Store if that's the goal of their project. It might be a website. It could be a web application. It could be whatever. But we have a big celebration at the end.
Your coding academy doesn't do telepresence online? Okay.
We will occasionally have guest speakers via telepresence, via Google Hangout or something like that. But those are very rare. We prefer to have people on site, in person, being able to answer questions and that sort of thing.
Sorry, I just want to talk about what 6 months out of the program looks like. So going back to this, David's an instructor, obviously. Like, this is technical genius right here. I am the campus director, and I work on everything outside of teaching. So I do enrollment, admissions, and then my big role is working with employers locally to place our students who complete the program in a job within 6 months of the program. So we just launched, we just announced that we were coming to the Iron Yard, and we've already had companies approach us and want to hire graduates that we don't have yet. So we're actually bringing in graduates from other campuses to interview locally. But as you can see, this is very in demand. And so our employer advisory board consists of local companies who are interested in hiring, but also helping to tailor the curriculum to make sure our students are job ready the second they graduate.
How do you choose the languages you teach? And since I work for Oracle,
the databases that we discussed?
No, actually, I was going more in the Java side. Are you gonna guys teach Java at all?
No, we don't have any plans currently to teach Java. We're focused primarily on web development, and we are expanding the curriculum from the original 3 tracks that we had: iOS, which came late, Ruby on Rails, and HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. In Raleigh-Durham, there's a huge demand for Python. So we added a Python course. We have a teacher running a cohort for Python development this time around. PHP is really big here in Orlando. I would love to launch a PHP curriculum here in Orlando. If there is demand, and if the Employment Advisory Board members advocate that we should be teaching X, then we will certainly strongly consider teaching X and finding teachers for X, whatever that might be. It could be Scala, could be Scheme, could be Lisp, could be, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, the curriculum is constantly evolving, and because we're small enough and scrappy enough, and the instructors are involved in shaping the curriculum, In JavaScript, there are two competing packages, Gulp and Grunt. And originally we taught Grunt. Now everyone's moving to Gulp. There are two packages. Backbone was a MVC framework for JavaScript. That was a big deal for a while there. The curriculum has been written around Backbone, but all the instructors are like, nah, we got to do this Angular stuff, man, or at least Angular or Ember, or let me choose some other technologies. And we're starting to roll that in across all the campuses. People who have never used Angular before, taught Angular before, are learning Angular so that they can teach it, or at least make an informed decision about it.
I get to use my awesome picture. Oh, it's not so great. So we're in the Exchange building, right across the hall from Canvas, which is a new co-working space that just had their grand opening last night. So we're in this, so we're kind of in the heart of the tech scene downtown. The second floor company is actually expanding their whole
shebang.
Yep. And hiring like crazy, which is really great for us because they could possibly hire graduates and just move them upstairs. And then the third floor is also taken up. So that entire building, which was a mall, is now completely full of tech companies. So that's really great for the synergy of our community and what we're trying to do here at the Iron Yard.
How will the students at the Iron Yard be evaluated? Are there grades? Is it pass-fail?
Everyone fails. It's so students are evaluated based on their ability to produce work. Initially, we understand we're dumping a whole bunch of information into somebody's head that they probably don't grok yet, right? It takes a bit. So the grading is much more subjective and loose. In order to get your certificate, in order to make good on the job placement program, you have to complete all the work. You have to just at least try every exercise to the point of the satisfaction of the instructor. That's me. And you also have to complete your capstone project. You have to stay through the 12 weeks and contribute and complete the capstone project at the end. You have to be fully engaged. We're not issuing A through Fs. We're not issuing any sort of state-recognized ABET certified certificate or diploma or degree. We're basing our results on the proof in the pudding, right? Can this guy or gal produce an app at the end of the course? That's your question?
Since it's not, you said you're not, going through any accreditation process, is there any private or public means of financial aid available?
So on the state level, we are licensed by the state as a post-secondary institution. We do have financing available for our tuition. Tuition is actually $1,000 down, and our financing partner can spread out payments amongst 3 years. There's no penalty for early payoff. So if you do land this like crazy awesome job and you're like, I'm going to pay off this $9,000 in 2 months, whatever, you can do that. So that's definitely a possibility and what a lot of our students choose to do. $500 scholarship for the 1 Million Cups membership. That can also be extended if you refer a friend and they find out through you, obviously. That scholarship can be extended to them. We have a Women in Tech scholarship, that's $1,500, and then a Military in Tech, Veterans in Tech, $1,500.
What's the expected salary range of these graduates once they get out of the program?
So entry-level salary ranges for front-end developers, Ruby on Rails developers are in flux. They're currently escalating. We were talking with some great folks from TriNet last night who have more concrete metrics. From my experience in the industry, $45K to $55K is a great starting salary for an entry-level developer, and certainly for the type of entry-level developers that I'm going to be cranking out. $45K to $55K is where I'm setting the expectation point. I have seen price points lower than that for kids coming straight out of college with some self-taught knowledge. But the fact of the matter is there are not many degree programs that are specifically teaching for web development. So most folks are coming comp sci, computer science, straight out of UCF or UF or wherever, maybe a design or graphic communications program, and we have to learn to build the internet along the way. Those folks are definitely expecting 35 to 40K a year entry-level salary here in Orlando. We go out west, that number changes completely. You go up north, you hit any of the major metros, add in cost, even with cost of living expenses, the numbers slide drastically because of the supply and demand curve. So right here in Orlando, Florida, front-end engineers, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, as I have described, we're looking at 45 to 55K a year entry-level salary.
To go along with that, do you have a couple of maybe success stories or people who've done really well with the capstone project and helped to land them a position with a great company?
We actually have we have at least one group from the class in Greenville that the result of their capstone project landed them in the accelerator at the Iron Yard and got them funded. So that's one big success story. There are tons of other anecdotes that I'm sure Sarah can share.
Yeah, so we have people working at Dribbble, MailChimp, really large companies, but I think the success story is having people stay in town and work for, well, MailChimp Atlanta, but the success story is having people come and stay here in Central Florida for us. As we have more of these high quality developers stay here, that raises the income for a lot of folks in the development world, as we keep this expectation up of this is the quality and expectation that we have for developers. But yeah, we have 100% of our students have been placed in a junior development position, and obviously we have an expectation of what they're going to make, so that stays at a standard for us. So.
Okay, we unfortunately were about out of time, so we can't take any more questions. Everybody will, both of our presenters will be around afterwards, so I know there's more questions in the audience, so we had to cut them off. But so stay afterwards and ask them questions. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was fantastic.
I have one more ask.
Oh, one more, please.
If you could tweet this out and tag a friend that you think would be interested in the Iron Yard, that would be really great.
Of course.
Or the Facebook. The Book of Faces would be really great.
Their Twitter
for
is
this.
at the IronYard.com, or at the Iron Yard. Pardon me. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, before everybody runs out of the room, I do have one last announcement to make, and that is completely not self-serving, but self-serving for Ron, and that is that they are in the finals for Dream Big America with the Complete the Pair. They're alum of 1 Million Cups Orlando, and obviously Ron is one of our core organizers. But they're in the finals, so if you can, you can go to dreambigamerica.us and vote for them. You can vote by texting DBA to that phone number up there, and tweet at Complete the Pair to try to get the word out. It's a popularity contest solely, so the more people who vote, the better the chances they have. So thank you. Thank you for coming. There's more coffee. Please finish it off. And if you have not if you parked in the parking lot across the street and did not stamp your ticket, please do so. There's a stamp out on the table that will get you free parking when you leave. Okay? Thank you so much. See you next week.
Good job, brother.